Remember, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to give us a positive rating on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to the show. Also, make sure to check out the YouTube channel at youtube.com/thatoneandrew, where full recordings of this podcast are posted along with a plethora of other videos. We now also have a Patreon where you can support us. Head over to patreon.com/thatoneandrew. Check it out today, and thank you for listening. Now, on to the show. Greetings, all. Welcome back to Dooms Repeat, a history podcast 2021 edition, the show where three friends come together. I say each week, each month, and talk about interesting moments throughout history. I'm your host, Andrew Arana, and joined with me today are the scholar ballers of history, Matthew and Levi. Today's topic is Today's topic is the final for the Napoleonic Wars. If you missed our last couple of episodes, make sure to go check it out before listening to this one. Now, before we get into our main topic, tradition dictates that I give the scholar ballers their would you rather question of the week.
Lay it on me.
All right, this one's pretty freaking simple, boys. The question is, would you rather be exiled or executed?
Be exiled or executed?
Yep. I hate
I
him.
mean,
I hate him. I hate him. Anger.
That is in retaliation of you still calling us scholar ballers. There is a war going on between us right now. The history podcast. And I have.
That's the
you
only way
drew
we can
first blood.
retaliate.
You drew first blood.
But be exiled or executed. I mean, okay, that is a very simple one. But I feel like we need a little bit more to it than that because how are we going to be executed?
Fucking firing range.
Firing range? Okay, okay, that's not the worst way to go.
Can I
That's
just
really
choose
not the
the way
worst
I
way.
want to be executed?
Can you what?
Just choose the way I want to be executed?
No.
Oh.
And
Matt, you're a
Levi, did you hear
prisoner.
me? I said
What's that?
firing range. Not firing
Yeah,
squad, firing range. We're putting you on
Oh.
a fucking cross and sticking you out there, and then people are just going to take pop shots at you.
Oh, so
Hopefully-
firing range.
hopefully
not
one-
fire squad.
Uh-huh,
okay.
Maybe one hits you, maybe one doesn't. Maybe one grazes you and you live forever. I don't know.
No, man, I'd just rather get exiled then.
Nah,
Of
man.
course,
Exiled.
Okay, so then where are we getting exiled? Some island off somewhere in the Pacific or something?
Bahamas.
No. You're getting exiled to the worst place on earth.
Okay.
Cleveland.
What's the Cleveland, Ohio, baby?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with Cleveland. That sounds good.
Cleveland is pretty shitty.
Oh,
God, hope we don't have any Cleveland fans out there.
I doubt we do.
Shout out to the Browns. They're actually good.
They are.
Hey,
What the fuck?
we actually made it to the playoffs.
Hey. Out first round. All right,
Yeah,
well.
first.
Personally,
I mean-
I would rather be executed.
Okay, why?
Just any excuse to kill myself.
Oh?
Alright.
Oh?
Actually, you know what?
Okay.
Redacted. There's probably lots of tall buildings in Cleveland, Ohio. Never mind.
Jesus Christ.
God damn.
What if one of the stipulants was, okay, you're exiled to Cleveland, right? It's like, okay, and you can do anything within city limits. You know, you can work, you can own lands, you can prosper, own a business and stuff.
Buy a house.
But you have to be the biggest Cleveland Browns fan in the world. I'd be like, fucking kill me.
I mean,
I'd rather
Still
die
better. Still
a
better than being a
horrible death.
Dallas Cowboys fan.
I don't know what you're talking about. Well, all right. Um,
But no, wait.
so
Matt didn't
these
give his
next,
answer. Matt didn't give his
yeah, he did.
answer. Oh, he did.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
What did I say, huh?
He said Cleveland.
No, I said they get exiled to Cleveland. God damn it. I didn't say if I choose one or the other.
Okay, well, what would you choose?
Well, since I don't get to choose the way by which I'm executed, which is pretty fucking lame if you ask me.
I
Mm,
mean, you are a prisoner, though.
that is
Yeah.
true. But also, I'm thinking if I'm a prisoner, then it's because I've done something probably pretty fucking badass.
Nah, I
So,
just didn't like your face.
doubtful. Severe doubt on that. But
You,
so I'm
you
thinking
sent
I instigated something. I have done something that has
Be
made
like,
the
this motherfucker can't stand right. We're killing him.
that I've done something to anger the government, and being the way I am, which is fuck you, get the fuck out type of way, I'd probably be a martyr. So start a revolution in the name of my death? Hell yeah, let's go. Or be
He
exiled to shitty Cleveland. Fuck Cleveland.
Oh man, I'd just go to Cleveland. I'd just go to Cleveland.
Brian about that. It's
I'll
probably
just live
fine
out
over
my
there, right?
days. I'll just leave out my days in Cleveland, Ohio.
All right, all right. Well, we're gonna skip these other main points because I just want to jump into this final topic of Napoleon. This has been 2 months in the making, 3 long episodes in the making, constant delays, holidays. It's been a year. Obviously not a whole calendar year, but we are in 2021 now. But I think we're finally ready for part 3, which is the fall of Emperor Napoleon.
Emperor.
Emperor
He,
Napoleon, former emperor,
All right.
because he's dead. He did not choose to go to Cleveland. So which he could have. He owned it and he sold it. He owned Cleveland.
I don't know if
was
he owned
Ohio
Ohio.
Was
It
Ohio
is
on the Louisiana
Ohio is
Purchase?
No,
not west of the Mississippi.
no, it wasn't. But
Idiot.
semantics.
No.
Um, Last
Semantic.
time we left off with we talked about
How he
the
how he
Spanish conflict. We want to say
and
um
Spain just kind
Napoleon
of
sent some generals down there because the Spanish were in a tizzy and the British got involved, and these French generals weren't doing shit. They were really fucking things up. So Napoleon was like, fine, bitches, I'll go down there and handle it myself. And the British was like, oh, fuck. And we learned about that one guy that survived a shot to the shoulder with a cannonball.
General
Um,
Moore.
Fucking what a trooper.
he didn't
Um,
live, did he?
No, he
no,
died. He
no.
I
survived
was
for
about
a
to say,
I mean,
while
he
though.
he survived for a while. He survived like the night or
oh,
something, but
bro, you should
he
just
died.
like put him down. At
Dude
that
got
point,
shot
bro,
with
just
like a
put me
cannonball.
down, bro.
Just walk up, one to the face, just boom. He probably would have survived that too. Um, but yeah, so uh, at this time, Napoleon doesn't really win Spain. He kind of just pulls out. He's like, it's kind of a lost cause. These damn Spaniards, no one can tame them. So I'm getting the fuck out of here. And Napoleon creates this type of what do you want to call it? It's not a direct conflict with Britain because they never really have direct conflict. But at this point, Napoleon's French Empire owns a shitload of Europe.
Hmm,
Most of it actually going all the way to Russia,
hmm.
and down more towards like he's taken over Austria and things like that. He owns Italy, all in between, all the what would you call them? As Saxon nations.
What?
Um,
Sack?
you know,
Saxony?
yeah, isn't that what they're called?
No.
You mean
Only one place is called Saxony.
Well,
yeah?
he owns Saxony. Anyways, um,
You talking about Eastern
Napoleon
Europe?
at this point, yeah, those fucking nations no one cares about. Those irrelevant nations that have no place in history before or after this point.
Germany.
Um, Never heard of her. So at this point, Napoleon's like, listen, We got to stop these British bastards. So I'm making a continental system forbidding you all to trade with Britain. And they're all like, okay, at the beginning, right? And then
Mhm.
Russia's like, you know what? Fuck you, Napoleon.
So
Um, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, in about like 1810, Russia would withdraw from the continental system.
Yeah, I think we're skipping over Austria rising back
Mhm.
again.
But they barely rise back again. He
Yeah,
just puts them back in their place.
no, no, no. A big thing happens in Austria
I would
when
like Matt to
Napoleon.
go into this.
You want to talk about this? I don't know the name of the actual battle. Literally, all I have written down about it. I remember.
Are you talking about his first defeat?
Well, it wasn't really a defeat. That
It
one,
wasn't a victory.
yeah, it was kind of a It was more of
A
a
draw.
stalemate, which
Okay.
a
It's one
draw.
of the first times that Napoleon, under his emperorship, did not decisively win.
Yeah, I just want to talk about that for a second because that is like right after Spain because Austria, which was technically under his control at that point or subdued, rose again, but they reorganized their army to mimic Napoleon's armies and they mimicked Napoleon's tactics with artillery, defensive positions, and controlling the battlefield. And they
Mhm.
kind of lured Napoleon into this sort of trap to where he had to cross a river with bridges made from wood and barges.
Hmm. And they kept like dropping things in the river and breaking them.
Yes.
Hmm.
And this battle right here, Napoleon also shows himself as being arrogant at this point. He believes that he knows what to do. His tactics will work over and over again. He's kind of high in himself now, and he makes a lot of tactical errors, like not waiting for all of his troops to be there, not waiting to have the sufficient supply line set up, and he leave when he gets his first troops across. There's two towns that they immediately take. But then the Austrian forces come in and start taking the towns back immediately, and simultaneously they break the bridge so that no more reinforcements can be brought in. There's also no cannon support, no cavalry support for his infantry, so they're just there basically fighting to the death in these towns where the fighting was brutal hand to hand combat, just hell on earth. While the Austrians, on the other hand, had supply lines, they had fresh troops, they could change them out, and all of this, and keep applying pressure.
They
They
were organized.
they were ready for this. They set up a great trap. Eventually, Napoleon gets a steady flow of troops in and gets a set of cannons on one of the islands that's overlooking two of the towns from the river and gains a foothold over there. But he still only has infantry and those cannons. But the Austrians, seeing that they've lost the advantage and they've lost the upper hand, pull back to another position that they already had, like across a field to this high mesa point. And Napoleon waits and gathers all of his forces and then launches a full attack against them the next day, and his whole plan is to march directly up the hill where they have cannon batteries and infantry in a hardened position. And me personally, I'm thinking that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Are you serious, dude? The man who revolutionized military is like, oh, I'm gonna have like my cavalry go into the strong right flanks of the enemy that where all of their cavalry is, and my cavalry is going to have to get through them and get up the hill and take out the guns while my infantry just marches straight at the guns and infantry on the hill. Stupidest fucking shit I ever heard. But then the fucking Austrians pull something out of their ass and like, joke's on you, we had more men in the trees over there, and kind of do a swinging door movement to where they still have the top of the hill, but their left flank just comes out and starts encroaching all of Napoleon's troops and trying to outflank him. So Napoleon, instead of having his, the only thing he had that was supposed to help was he was going to have his grand battery firing on the hill. But due to this new threat to his left flank, he had to move his grand battery to face them and hold off on his charge up the hill to where now his men are just getting shelled by the enemy artillery while they wait. So he sets up his grand battery, annihilates just an entire battalion, just blasts him to nothing, sends in his infantry and cavalry to mop him up. But guess what? There's more fucking enemy infantry and cavalry coming in, and they fill the holes and push them back. And eventually, the battle just ends in a stalemate, and the Austrians do end up pulling back, which you could look at a Napoleonic victory. But the casualties both seen that day are about equal. But the big thing is, Austria has just stood up to Napoleon and not decisively lost like every fucking other person has beforehand, which is a paradigm shift for Napoleon in Europe in general. And then it goes on to the whole Russia being like, well, you can lick my nuts. I'm not listening to what you're saying. But I'll let you guys take that off.
But they were friends, Matthew.
They were friends. Just because you're friends doesn't mean you can't have ideas and constructs on being greater than your friends. Doesn't mean you don't want to be more powerful. It doesn't mean you don't want to be the person in control. You can still be friends with someone and be envious as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Huh.
So I think a theme that we are seeing is Napoleon kind of just stops giving a shit and he starts breaking the rules that he made.
He's becoming disillusioned
Um,
with himself.
Not
I
only
would
that,
say.
he's becoming lazy as well. Um,
He doesn't lead
and
from the front. That's true. He's in the back
Mhm.
now.
yeah, he's in the back now. We'll see later during the Russian campaign that there are times where he refuses to send in his private cavalry because he wants to be protected in the back. Um, he does reckless things. He breaks his own rules a lot. And Spain was kind of the start of that because in Spain, he didn't go there himself. He didn't lead it himself. He sent other people to go and it didn't work out. Um, so that is Austria. We're gonna move on to Russia. So Russia's like, oh, the continental system. Now we like trading with England or with Britain. So we're gonna keep doing that. And Napoleon's like, listen here, you motherfuckers. I am, I'm tired of you. So I'm gonna
Tired.
invade Russia. And he doesn't do
Well,
this
well,
alone.
hang on. Like as I stated earlier, Russia breaks from the continental system, and then
Yeah,
in retaliation, Napoleon invades.
yes. So Russia was more or less the instigator on this. But Napoleon invades with the French army. And then they also have some other battalions from the various nations that are under his
The
system.
Napoleon's forces are about 600,000 men going into Russia.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, that's so many.
It
it
is a
is
lot.
quite a bit. Um, and he begins this campaign in summertime and marches to Moscow.
About sometime July, around I believe sometime and
Yeah, it was around June,
summer,
July.
about summer of 1812 is when he will do this.
Now, if anyone knows geography even slightly, you'll know that Russia and specifically Moscow is very far away from the rest of Europe. Obviously, I mean, there's like Ukraine and stuff in there, but at this point in time, there wasn't too much in between Moscow and, let's say, Poland or something.
Mhm.
So Napoleon was known for his supply routes and his trade routes and stuff. That way, he could keep his men fed and well trained or well rested and things like that. Now, for whatever reason, Napoleon just kept breaking his own rules, like we said before, and he did not keep up that constant supply chain when he invaded Russia. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this. He's lost a lot of generals that he's been battling with forever. A lot of them have died in battle. Um, so a lot of the people he's working with are new, and then also he has those foreign allies that are not as determined as Napoleon. They're not as
They're more they're,
experienced as him.
they're more keen looking out for their own self interests.
Yeah. So the second things start getting dicey, they kind of start splitting off and breaking from the group, affecting both the flank and the supply chain. Now, Napoleon's marching into Russia, and they're having little skirmishes here and there, and it's all leading up to what would be the bloodiest battle in European history until World War One, and that is Borodino.
Hmm.
Borodino was on the outskirts of Moscow. It's a town, um, not tiny, but not Moscow size. And I
And
don't. Do any of you have the general that was there? There was a certain Russian general
I
that was there.
mean, I can look it up just real quick. I don't think that'll hurt the podcast.
Yeah, I'll let him look it up because honestly, my pronunciation also of the Russian generals, I've kind of kept them out of it because it's so fucking bad. I don't speak Russian. It's like
Oh,
Greek
definitely.
mixed with some fucked up shit.
The only thing I know about Russian is that they use backwards letters, and that the V is pronounced as an F. Um,
What?
All I know
yeah.
about Russian is that they're always in a hurry.
So yeah, so one of the main leaders is a guy coming back. Holy crap, I did not know he was back for this. Okay, that's awesome. Is Mikhail Kutsov. Now, if you know who Kutsov uh, is, he was one of the Russian generals at the Battle of Austerlitz, helping who was the emperor at the time of Russia? I can't remember. I think it was
Yeah,
Alexander, Emperor
but I
Alexander.
remember. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was one of these
Alexander.
generals because he was done. He wasn't really a
Yeah,
general anymore. And then
but
when
but
this
basically,
started,
yeah, that guy Kutov is back to say the
hmm
least.
with a fucking vengeance too, because this guy he doesn't fuck around with Napoleon. So the Battle of Borodino is this is the battle I was talking about earlier where Napoleon was kind of just sitting in the back. He had his guards and stuff. And remember at this point they're traveling through the hot European sun. Soldiers are getting sick. There's no
It is
discipline, so
it is September. It's hot.
it's very hot. They're deserting. People are dying. They're starving because the food supply chains aren't great. And every time the Russians had this tactic where every time Napoleon would come up, instead of fighting, they did kind of a guerrilla warfare where they would leave a few men kind of hold them off and they would burn down the towns, burn all the crops so to make the soil like unplantable, ungrowable. And that was their tactic to kind of starve out and to destroy the marching army. It didn't completely work, but it did affect Napoleon's army greatly. At least weakened it morally.
I,
Um,
I will say though, that is a very common Russian tactic throughout most of history. Is like somebody is trying to chase us, and they're gonna come from Moscow. We're just gonna burn literally every square inch of land between wherever the fuck they are and
Yeah,
Moscow,
yep, we're
and
not
then
going to
we'll
let
get
them
in
get
there.
let me tell you, the scores, the Russian scorched earth tactic is very effective and has been used multiple times. We see it a
Hmm.
lot in World War II with Joseph Stalin, leaving nothing
Yep.
for the Germans to come back to. Um, In fact, I think at one point, not to get off topic here, but I think at one point, I think Stalin was heavily considering destroying his own oil fields to prevent the Germans from taking them.
Yes, he
Hmm.
was.
So,
Sounds like a Stalin move to me. So I want to give everyone a little uh overview, kind of like a guide, get an imagination of what's going on right now. So on one side we have Napoleon and his generals, and they have around 150 to 190,000 men.
hmm.
And then on the other side we have Kuta- Kutsov. Kutsov, is that a Mikolai?
Kutsov.
Mikhail
Kutsov.
Kutsov.
Mikhail Kutsov. And
Mikhail.
he has around 150 to 160,000. So two similarly sized armies. Napoleon is he has a little bigger. He's a little bigger. Um and it's hot. They're in Russia. They're mere miles away from Moscow at this point. And these troops engaged in the bloodiest battle in human, well, not in human history, but in European history up to this point. I think there were some more bloody battles down in, like, Egypt land and Middle East and stuff like that. I don't know,
Well,
boys. Are there
I
deadly?
can go ahead and I will tell you one of the just real quick. I get off topic, but one of the most bloodiest battles in history was the battle of it was Hannibal's it was Hannibal Barker's like greatest battle he ever fought when
Oh
he had just
fuck.
came when he just came out of
Kana. Kane.
the battle
You're
of
talking about
Cana.
Kana.
Yeah,
Holy
when he
shit.
just came out of when he had just came out of the Alps, and it was Hannibal's masterpiece. Basically, basically the Roman and the Carthaginian forces basically charged at each other. However, Hannibal managed to like maneuver his cavalry around and just smacked right into them. All in all, around I think about almost more men died in that single battle than U.S. soldiers died in the entire conflict of Vietnam.
That's crazy.
So, to give you an idea of how of the carnage of that battle,
That's wild. Um, so definitely probably more than died at the Battle of Borodino, but the Battle of Borodino did leave around 70,000 either killed or wounded.
yeah,
Um, and
it's a lot.
making it the deadliest day of the Napoleonic Wars, and of course European history until a little thing called World War One, which, yeah, that was
Yes, the war
kind
to
of
end all
a
wars.
Germany's revenge, I like to call it. Um,
Would you? Would I mean? That's an entire different discussion. I wouldn't say World War
well,
One
yeah,
was Germany's
I
revenge.
don't know. That's just memeing.
Okay.
Um, so is there anything you guys want? I mean, because we could honestly do a whole episode on Borondino.
Oh yeah,
It's a big
we do
battle.
a whole episode on all these battles.
Napoleon is sloppy in it. He's not tactical in it. I mean, he kind of is, but he's not.
This isn't
It's
your
really
classic Napoleon.
no. What we were seeing 5 years ago from him and what we're seeing now, it's kind of like the tale of two kitties. Um, yeah, Garfield reference right there. Uh, he still has some things going on, but he's just not great. And also, we forgot to mention, which is a big thing, is that the fucking what are they called the Cossacks or something?
Oh yeah, the Cossacks. Yes, yes.
That the horsemen of Russia.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. The Cossack.
Holy
The
shit! Did
Cossacks.
these guys fuck people up?
Oh yes, the pointy
Like,
mustache man.
known as the greatest cavaliers in Europe. Like, these dudes were monstrous, and
They
they
were also
were.
pirates.
There was a-
I
yeah,
think
I
I
didn't
think
know that they're
so.
pirates.
No, I think so. I think at one point they managed to get ships and stuff. I think
That's fucking awesome if so. Um,
yes,
but
they were
yeah,
also pirates. Yes.
hell yeah. That's awesome. Um, So, anyways, yeah, the Cossacks are there. I mean, everyone's there, and people just dying everywhere. This battle lasts for like a month. Um, Wildly massive, insane battle, and it ends with a Russian retreat. Napoleon does, I want to say, decisively win. Um, but he does win, and they go to Moscow, and Napoleon conquers Moscow. Now, just like with the scorched earth tactic, there's conflicting reports about this. I don't know what you guys read, but what I read was that the Russians burnt down Moscow
Mhm.
and like evacuated and ransacked the place. But then people say, Russians say, that it was Napoleon and his army that destroyed everything and burned everything down. Now, I don't know what to believe because, Russian propaganda makes it out to be that they did nothing wrong in history ever.
I can tell
So,
you. I can tell you which ones to believe. Who's the one that's been burning down their entire fucking country this entire time? Who's the one that
exactly.
historically burns down their entire fucking country every time? Even if they lose, they still, or even if they're winning, they burn it down still because they're just sore fucking losers. It's Russia. Russia burns their own shit down. Why would you burn
God
down the thing you're
damn,
conquering?
man. God damn, man.
Yo, they
Tell us how
fucking
you really
stupid.
tell us how
There's
you
some,
really feel, buddy. God, jeez.
someone doesn't like Russia. Jesus Christ.
They stupid.
Yeah, man. Listen, man.
Um,
I know they use backwards letters in their alphabet. Go, come on, man.
I'm sorry. That's all. I'm doing a little bit of research. Just give me like 5 minutes. I got
You're good.
sidetracked.
But no, I
do you
believe.
want me to stick with Moscow or can I move on
No,
to
let's keep
winter?
talking
Yeah, you
about
guys can keep
Moscow
going. You're
because
fine.
there is a famous
You guys,
painting that I
yeah, you guys
love,
go.
and it's basically to describe it. It is Napoleon sitting down, and he just has this look of just I can't like. It's just like um, it's just like this look of him just to describe it. I don't know. He looks tired, but also angry. Like um. All right. Maybe it's not a real pit. Sorry. Okay, never mind. I don't think it was a real painting. It was
Just a
yeah,
picture?
yeah, it must have just been an edited picture for a meme. All right, my bad,
Hey,
guys.
that's
But there are paintings
that's
of
okay.
the Great Moscow Fire, and it is sad to see 100-year-old city burned. And
Just because these motherfuckers were like, no.
there is there is but if you ever look up and there is an image of Napoleon sitting. There's like this meme picture of Napoleon sitting down, looking like he's drunk or like really tired or pissed off, and there's Moscow
Mhm.
behind it, just on fire, burning. It's just really funny because that basically describes this whole situation now in Russia. Um,
And I'll give it to Napoleon. I will, because he did go in there and he did take Moscow. Like, he did that. We can't take that away from him. He, even if he's like not as great as he once was, he's flundering a bit. He's not decisively winning every battle. He still did get all the way to Moscow and he did take it. So, like, give credit where credit is due. Um, because I know a lot of people, us included, kind of like to shit on Napoleon on his end days. Like, he's not as good. He's kind of lazy and things like that. But the man did march from France to fucking Russia. So, was are we good to move to winter?
yeah, we can move on down to the winter and how that was a uh, one of the largest fiascos in history.
This
Matt,
is where Napoleon basically he's done.
yeah, just real quick, Matt, are you still doing some research?
Well,
Okay.
Quiet as a bird. Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and talk about. So they take over Moscow, but Alexander the First refuses to surrender. He's like, no. He's really made this like a patriotic battle for Russia, fighting to keep Russian sovereignty. You know, shit like that. Um, and Napoleon's like, shit. We have no supplies. They burnt down everything. They stole the food. We have nothing, and winter is coming in. We gotta fucking leave.
Hmm.
And the French army, this army of like 500,000 people, is like, they turn around and they start marching back.
Hmm.
And this is where we see the biggest blunder. I don't even know. What would you call this? Like, this isn't,
Just a disaster, really.
it's not good.
No.
Um, Napoleon's retreat ends in so many dead.
Right.
Um, because a great winter, as many great winters happen in Russia because it's fucking cold. Uh, a great winter falls down and kills just hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm about to give you an idea. The 600,000 men that he goes into Russia with, only about 100,000 make it out.
yeah,
Jesus
and
fuck.
I can assure you that most of them did not die in combat. Most of them died from
Most of them
disease,
died from
starvation,
disease,
or freezing.
cold, or many of them went missing. One thing that I attributed to this that I don't think a lot of people know is that the French coats that they wore had 10 buttons. And
Hmm.
why is that important? Well, the Russian winter it got so cold that it was so freezing that the 10 buttons would break would just turn into brittle, like they would just break if you touched them. And so a lot of the French soldiers couldn't properly um you know get what I'm getting at here. They couldn't properly button their coats.
Yeah,
So
Hmm.
couldn't keep themselves warm.
they couldn't keep themselves warm. um how Napoleon survived this is another huge thing. I'm
Oh my
actually very
god, yeah.
surprised that he himself didn't get sick. But that could also be because he was in his own private area within,
Yeah, they probably gave him all the resources.
moving with his troops. So
But yeah, so also what happened. So a lot of these they're retreating in the winter and it's freezing and people are freezing to death and they have no food and they're starving. But the Russians they're not just kind of chilling on the sideline. The Russians are still chasing them. They're
mm,
like, "We got you where we want you now, bitches." And they're slaughtering them. They take thousands of them prisoner because so many French soldiers are just giving up. They're throwing their arms and they're willingly being captured because they're like, please save us.
mm,
Um, he loses horses, he loses artillery, he loses everything. And in during this retreat, sometime in like November or December, Napoleon dips while his grand army is still trying to retreat, the thousands of men, he takes some horses and, he has some soldiers and he just fucking beelines it all the way to Paris, leaving his army behind.
like
Now,
this is disappointing. Really, this is like Napoleon has to like hang his head low. Like this is not like a good return at all. Like this is
no,
like
people are
no
not
parade.
celebrating this return.
There's no celebrations at all. People are. I mean, I don't. I don't know if people are even thankful that they even came back. To be honest with you,
Probably not.
I mean, I'm
But
sure
yeah,
like
he
a lot of like the soldiers' loved ones would have loved for their loved ones to come back home, but as far as
mhm.
Napoleon goes,
um
maybe not so much.
there is I remember near the end of the retreat, while so many tens of thousands have already died, the remaining survivors were trying to cross like this river or something, and I recall that the Russian army was right there. Like they were coming up to them and they're trying to get them. And the French army did like this diversion thing where they snuck up to the top of the river and crossed over while at the bottom of the river they had other things happening and they're distracting them. So that was kind of a big part of it too. Like I said before,
But we also
if you're
got.
more interested,
I was just gonna say, I
yes,
was
go.
gonna mention just real quick. Napoleon wasn't. Like, they were the French were no. The Grand Armée was no longer fighting this war on the on offense. Neither were they fighting anymore on defense. This was a full blown retreat.
This is survival, yeah. This is
Yeah,
survival retreat.
they weren't even they didn't even have the chance to be put on the defensive really.
Yeah, we don't know the casualties for the Russians during this retreat, but we know it was not high compared to the French. The French lost damn near everything. So much so because if you want to know more about the retreat and all that stuff, I highly encourage you to go watch videos about it and things like that. This
Yeah,
is
we're just
more of an overview
we're
of
just
Napoleon.
rushing over a lot of things.
The main point is he went into Russia, he got to Moscow, he conquered a lot of it, but because of lack of supplies, because of that scorched earth tactic, he had to retreat and he lost damn near 90% of his grand army and he lost his respect. He lost his, like, his, what do you want to call it? His je ne sais quoi. He was not that great conqueror anymore. He went to Russia and got his ass kicked. Um, Albeit because of the weather, but nonetheless, still got his ass kicked.
And Russian tactics of burn it all down.
Burn it all down.
Yep, it works. It works. Um, so one of you guys want to kind of? I don't really know what
Oh,
happens after this.
so um, Napoleon comes back, and this defeat kind of like everybody who's anybody in Europe, whether you're a lord, lady, king, emperor, whatever, whoever you are, aristocrat, hell, maybe you're just even the average baker down the road. Everybody is kind of just turning their head and looking at Napoleon and thinking to themselves, you know what? Maybe this guy isn't so invincible after all. Maybe he is cracked up what he has made himself out to be, and kind of like the psyche of Napoleon as well. Now is that he's he's really not a well, he still is the emperor. He still is a military dictator, but now he's a father. Now he has a he had a son with his wife, his new wife. Um, I don't know if we mentioned in like the previous podcast, but he did
We did.
Yeah, we
uh,
did.
he did divorce that harlot, whoever she was. But uh, just kidding. But whoever she was, and he
Just kidding.
Nah,
then
she was a hoe.
married um the love of his life. Basically, he had a son with her. But the psyche of Napoleon now is that what who am I now? Am I still the emperor of Europe, or am I just king of France really? And
Hmm.
because of this, what would follow after the Russian invasion, French forces would then be engaged in the Peninsular War, and the Peninsular War was really like the beginning of the end for the Napoleon's empire. Basically, the Peninsular War would result in a Spanish and Portuguese victory with a little help from the British.
Of
And
course.
what would this do? Why is this important? Well, this would fully drive um, any French occupation from the Iberian Peninsula. Hence, why it is called the Peninsular War.
Hmm. Hmm.
So now,
Yeah, and we do have to. I also want to mention that So Napoleon is an emperor. He's a dictator. So his army that was destroyed was quickly rebuilt. But unlike before, where he had time to train his troops. They had years of training and things like that. They've had military combat and experience and things like that. After Russia, he was kind of left with a bunch of green boots. They were all like young recruits that were more or less drafted in to fight for him.
Mhm.
So
Might
while
I also
everyone's looking,
can I also ask
yeah,
something
go
quick?
ahead.
So the Peninsular War was that whole conflict with Spain in the beginning before Russia, but it was after the whole Russian campaign and them coming back when they fully lost Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I should
Yeah,
real quick.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so like this is all happening at the same time. He's fighting two fronts. He's losing on both fronts. He's losing all of his men. He's losing his credibility. People are looking at him being like, "You ain't that hot shit anymore." And as anyone knows, when you're running an empire, half of running an empire is controlling your nations,
Mhm.
and usually it's through like military strength. Like, hey, you don't have a fucking chance against us. But when word goes around being like, "Hey, I heard Napoleon lost like his whole army in Russia," it's like, really? That's interesting. We kind of have we don't really like that guy his last 10 years, huh? Maybe we'll make another coalition this time.
And what was what number coalition was this? Because there was a lot of them.
Seven.
Seven
It's a
seven
seven.
coalition.
These mother. And
Took
again,
them fucking 7 times to beat this
like
motherfucker.
the
This
greatness of
time's gonna
Napoleon.
work,
It took
guys.
these
This time's
motherfuckers
gonna work.
7 times to come together. Guys, by the seventh time we got this, which to be fair, they did, but it took 7 times. It also took Napoleon fucking up. Um but yeah, so I mean, should we just jump into the seventh coalition, which is
Oh,
the end of Napoleon?
well, should we
Ye-
also like is this before he gets exiled to Elba or
Yeah, this
Yeah. Hmm.
is so. This is
yeah?
before.
This
Yeah,
is what happens to him getting exiled. So,
yeah,
um, the Seventh Coalition, which has I don't know who does that have, Britain, Prussia, probably fucking Austria,
Russia.
like Russia, basically anyone who Napoleon has fought with, they came together again
Mm,
for the Seventh Coalition. And again, at this time, Napoleon is considerably weaker. He's trying to defend this front over on Germany and Austria, but he doesn't have enough troops. And the coalition does. They have supplies from Britain, and they're attacking him on both fronts. Napoleon kind of does this retreat thing. He doesn't go all the way back to France, but he kind of makes this line through the middle of Eastern or of Western Europe. Um, and the armies, they kind of use Napoleon's own tactics against him. Their idea was they had
class.
two things. First, first off, they were going to trap him. They wanted to surround Napoleon specifically and his army specifically. That way he had no escape. And then secondly, and this was a big one, they were not to directly fight Napoleon because they knew if they fought Napoleon one on one, Napoleon would win.
Hmm.
So they had to come together. And I believe before leading up the final battle where they did spoilers, they did beat him. There were a couple generals that are like, "Oh, I can fucking take him. Let's go," and they just got annihilated by Napoleon. Like he just even with these like he's lost so many times. He has all these new recruits. It doesn't matter because he's still a tactical genius and he still fucks them up. Um, but at the Battle of Leipzig,
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 yeah, Leipzig,
um, we had Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Sweden all come together and defeat Napoleon's remaining small army. Um,
and
this was in 1813, and then in the beginning of 1814, he is abducted
March of
from the throne.
1814. Yeah, in
Abdicated.
March of 18. Yeah, in March of 1814, the coalition forces would capture Paris,
Yeah,
and then
they march to Paris and they capture it.
on April 6th,
And
14, in his mid 40s, he would have to abdicate the throne with the Treaty of Fontainebleau.
Fontainebleau, and he is
Fontainebleau.
banished to a
Exiled.
Mediterranean island.
Yeah, exiled. Not
He's exiled
because he
to
didn't get.
Elba.
Well, he yeah, I guess we could say he got banished to the Shadow Realm, but he. I'm sorry,
He
but
fucking he didn't stay there. He didn't stay there.
not out. But he'd be exiled to a Mediterranean island off the coast of Italy, known as Elba. And I don't know how close that is to Corsica, but
I mean, you mean his homeland,
yeah, his homeland.
his native land, the Corsicans.
Well, his wife and son at the time would have to go to Austria.
Gotcha. Um, so yeah, he gets exiled to Elba, but Napoleon, he's not done. He might seem done, but he's not done.
But he
This
ain't done.
motherfucker
He
escapes.
ain't
He
done.
he fucking Looney Tunes out of there
How
somehow.
does he? How does he
Gets
escape?
back.
How does he escape? I've never
I don't
heard.
know.
It
I
says that
don't
he
know.
swam the 7 miles to shore from the
This
island to
motherfucker.
another
What?
island.
No, he didn't. No, he
That's
didn't.
what it said.
This dude was in his
No,
mid
no,
40s. He's fat. He's
no,
old.
this is like
He
a
did
joke
not.
podcast. Jamie, pull that up. Jamie, pull that up. Matt, pull it up. Pull that
Yeah,
video up.
I actually am pulling it up right now because I remember seeing it say that he fucking swam from the island. I'm like, this fucking man,
When I
like,
was a
is an
little,
Dude,
absolute Chad.
see, that's what I'm saying. Is like he just Looney Tuned himself. He grabbed the edge of the screen, pulled it over, and he was in Paris. And he was like, boom.
because when I was a little kid and I heard that Napoleon was sent to the island of Elba, and they said that he broke out. I thought like he was like, because by the way, when he was sent there, it wasn't like they just put him on an island and said goodbye. He was actually like he had like a mansion there. He had governance over Elba, and
Yeah,
stuff.
there are people there.
Yeah, there were people there and stuff. I like as a little kid, I thought, oh man, he was like a kid. Like they put him there to be like a castaway or something. He like made a raft. I legit thought that as a little kid they put him on that island purely to die. Like they wasn't just going to kill him, but they were just going to let the island kill him or something.
Um,
Just give me a second. I accidentally hit a wrong button.
I think I think the most reasonable thing is that someone boated him out of there, or he
Oh,
boated himself out of there.
Well, wait. I've already read a little bit of light stuff with it to where it's like technically under the treaty that was signed, he isn't like not allowed to go anywhere. He just has to get the proper passport to still travel because he is a monarch in his own right. Just let me
right.
keep and he wasn't like locked down. He was under a loose watch.
Okay.
Well, wait.
Why would they do this? You have this emperor who fucked up
Millions,
Europe for the last 15 years, and they're like,
millions dead.
loose lockdown.
Millions dead, by the way.
Huh?
Like over
What?
like millions dead, by the way, because of these
Oh
wars.
yeah, yeah. So many dead because of him, honestly. And we have to go through more strict lockdowns now during a pandemic than they gave this man after he did all that. People can't leave their homes, but this motherfucker just had to get the right passport after killing so many people.
Hey man,
I was supposed to believe he swam
give
7 miles to Italy. What did he do when he got there? Did he just stand up like, okay, I'm here? No,
Thank you for reading.
Oh
Let
no.
me
god.
look into
It's
it, man.
Elba is only 6 miles off the coast of Italy. It's only
Oh, my
six
bad. 6 miles.
miles.
Never mind.
It's
He did
only
that. Okay.
6 miles.
My bad. No, no,
So,
no. That makes more sense.
so he
All
so
right. Well,
Wait.
he
either
swims.
way,
No way he swam 6 miles because
this
he would have been in his 40s. He would have been.
Michael
It's
Michael
18,
Phelps Jr. escapes from Elba, and
1814.
he gets back to France.
Can I just say something? It's 1814. The man is in his mid 40s. Sure, like he might have a longer life expectancy because of his standing and like and stuff, and so like where he lives and how he lives and stuff like that. But I'm saying, but like a man in his mid 40s swimming 6 miles in 1814, bro, you better be at top health, like top physical health to do
Yeah.
that, or
To
you're
be
just gonna
fair,
die of pneumonia or something like that.
he was exiled for like yeah, that's the thing too. Is like he escaped in winter.
It's the
Like
Mediterranean. The Mediterranean in winter is like 60 degrees.
I don't want to hear it. He didn't do it. He fucking stuffed inside his suitcase and someone took him on a plane and he got there. All right.
Shut up!
Anyways, he escapes Elba and he gets back to France. And I guess the people are just
Okay,
like, all right, we fuck with this. Sure.
all
Yeah,
right.
you're emperor again.
I can tell you how he escaped now after reading
Okay,
all of it.
okay, finally,
How do you
how
do it?
did
How do you
Napoleon
do it?
Bonaparte
Okay,
escape
so it
from
says
hell?
that it was a legend that he swam off the island the 6 miles
No
shore.
shit.
Okay, okay. But instead, what actually happened was there was 12,000 people on the island of Elba, and he put himself to work, kept himself busy there, basically managing the entire island. Apparently, like he was opening mines, making a small navy, training troops, and I'm like, who the fuck lets the world's greatest general just fuck around and do shit?
Make
What?
another army.
Yeah, just
Make
make
Oh,
no
army.
no matter what size.
oh,
Like
he
they
was
these fucking idiots.
oh
But
he was the emperor of Europe. Surely he's not going to try to become the emperor of this small
yeah,
island.
he's he's
Of
he
Elba.
surely isn't going to. And apparently, so he had enough men trained and enough. This is just crazy. He
Oh, I
escaped.
know what he did. They daisy chained each other and he just walked on top of them the 6 miles.
I mean, that probably would be possible with 6,000 men, but he escaped the island and somehow slipped away with 1,000 men from Elba, and 2 days later arrived on the French coast and brought his force ashore and marched to Paris. What a
Do you
fucking
think
dude! Who the fuck? How the?
do you think like so Napoleon, they're like, okay, on Saturday night you and 1,000 men we're gonna slip out, and then the guard there the next morning is just like, huh, it's a little quiet here, don't you think? Like there's a lot of people gone right now. I think you should be worried about this. Where's that Napoleon guy? He's probably just in the mines. It's
Man,
fine.
man turned into a fucking warlord and was just like, "Hey, you 1,000 men, you ready to go reclaim the French throne?" And they're
Bro,
like,
this
"Hell yeah,
man,
let's go!"
this is epic.
Napoleon's just like, guys, we got this. Trust me, we got this.
Listen, okay,
Yeah,
listen. It's me, Napoleon. All right, listen, all that stuff
The
that
thing
happened.
is,
And listen,
the thing is,
don't worry about it, sweetheart. Listen, okay,
he
because things are different now.
he gets to France and shows up at the front door and just becomes emperor again.
yeah.
He's just like,
Really?
I'm taking control of this. Yeah,
Well,
he becomes.
it's because nobody liked the royalty because the royalty was diminishing the rights of the middle class and the lower people and reinstituting like the old way of monarchy is like the monarchy above all, which everybody in France was not accustomed to anymore and hated because even though Napoleon was emperor, he still enfranchised the middle class and helped the poor. Whereas the monarchy historically is just like, hey, fuck you, I'm here by right of God, so you have to obey me. Lick my
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah. So Napoleon gets there, and the people support him and stuff. He is still a national hero to them. So he just takes right back into control, and he starts building his army. And he's like, we ain't done. You can't do that to me. Um, and can one of you tell me how does he get how do they end up in Waterloo? Is he going on another campaign? Did he just get caught slipping? Like what happened?
At Waterloo, he lost.
that's
No
all.
shit.
That's all we can
but
really. How did
and
he?
all
How did he end up there in
but
Waterloo?
in all seriousness, okay, I got all right. Let me pull it up real quick. Okay, so
I
the
think it
new
actually
king.
started. Sorry, go ahead.
So the new king Louis XVII. That's eight. If you know your Roman numerals. Sorry, that's 18. My bad.
Thank you.
That's 18
Wait, did you say VII?
XVIII.
Okay, gotcha.
That's 18 if you know your Roman numerals. It, fled, and Napoleon began what came to be known as his 100-day campaign. And what is the 100-day campaign? I believe it was just
It
a
did. Wait.
massive.
Please just tell me he just went like, "I'm gonna fuck you all up." Please,
Okay,
he's just like, you
so
know what? Last hurrah.
last hurrah. This is what Waterloo was kind of a last hurrah when you think about it. But
Yeah.
so upon Napoleon's return to France, a coalition of allies, Austrians, British, Prussian, Russian, Chushan,
The Seventh Coalition.
the
Mhm.
Seventh Coalition, who had considered the French. They knew Napoleon wanted to go to war again. They knew, and
Is in
what
his blood.
it's in his blood. So what Napoleon does is that he raises a new army, basically, and how he does this, I have no idea. Like, really, we can just say it's just because it's Napoleon.
If I had to guess, he probably did the same thing that he did before, where he just enlisted the young people again.
It's probably, and I bet, and I am more like just like what Matthew was saying, like 100%. I bet France still loved Napoleon.
Yeah.
They still wanted him to be their leader.
I mean, even though
Um,
Napoleon lost, it was more of like Napoleon gave them more than just that military victory. He gave them freedom. He gave them like he gave them more than what the monarchies had ever given them. He had
Viva la
given
revolution.
yeah,
so
don't fuck with the French.
So in June of 1815, with his new army, his brand spanking new army, he just got coming back, the, coming back, baby. Napoleon's back. Tell a
Don't
friend.
call it a comeback.
Call it comeback. He invades Belgium. Poor Belgium always keeps getting invaded. And the British and Prussian troops were sorry where British and Prussian troops were stationed. By the way, Britain is on land now. It's no longer the whale and the elephant. Um, the
Yeah, but
elephant
it's
kind
a
of
small British force, and it's still
it,
nothing compared to the
oh
French
yeah,
troops.
definitely. I'm just saying that the British are on land now, but it's nothing.
They're fighting face to face.
They're
Finally.
yeah, but the elephant is nothing what it used to be. It has like a bunch of spears in its back now from being hunted.
Yeah.
Um, it went to Russia and it crawled back, very bloody, and it's just asking to be put down. Well, no, I guess no, not really anymore because he raised a new army. I don't know how big it
He made a
is.
new elephant. They
Yeah,
made an elephant baby, and now they're cultivating it.
he put that elephant down and got a new elephant. How about we put it like that?
Yeah. There you
Fun,
go. There you
fun.
go.
And on June 16th of 1815, he would defeat the Prussians at the Battle of Ligny. So, hooray! He Napoleon is like, okay, all right, he's taking,
Still winning.
he takes his knuckles, rubs on his chest, he's like, okay, I'm back, baby. But 2 days later, on June 18th, at the Battle of Waterloo near Brussels, the French were ultimately crushed. And I say ultimately crushed, just like that, because let's face it, they had no chance of winning this battle. I
They had
feel
no
like
chance.
No, they had one chance of winning this battle. The tactic that Napoleon had,
please go
which was
because I will tell because I will tell like how many people are against Napoleon, and it's
mhm.
basically Napoleon for first world.
Yeah, but I will say there are a lot of times in the past where, especially during the start of Napoleon's career, to where he fought battles like this, to where he was outnumbered 3-1, 4-1, odds were not in his favor, and he still won. And he was going, he almost, he almost pulled it through. If he maybe had more experienced troops under his command, better generals, better lieutenants, people who had been with him before, then they would have won. They would have won the Battle of Waterloo, because the problem with Waterloo is that not all of the enemy combatants were there, but all the French combatants were already there and they were set up. I think the only troops that were there at that time were the British troops and maybe some Russians, but the ones that really won the battle for them were the Prussian
Yeah. So,
reinforcements that were coming.
so
But
just real quick. Oh,
go ahead.
okay. I was going to say that who would be leading the coalition forces? It would be the main one would be the British Duke of Wellington and the Prussian Gebhard Lebrecht von Blücher.
Yeah,
And I
Jesus.
butchered that hard.
Yeah. But
uh,
anyways, Napoleon's plan was to do what he had done when he was younger with battles like these, to where he's going to take out the first army. He can
Mhm.
easily dispatch the first army, even though he's slightly outnumbered, because he knows his troops are superior to the British troops. He was going to barrage them as soon as the sun came up. He was going to start barraging them. So just at dawn, barrage them, send his infantry around and up there, and then send his cavalry in to finish them off. And they would have that high ground over there. They would take all the British guns that they have, move their batteries up, set it up towards where the Prussians were coming from, and they'd set a line, be ready, and as soon as the Prussians came into view, they would start firing on them and do the same exact thing. Except for this time, they had the advantage because they were at the high ground, so they could just shell and hold that spot while the Prussians would have to press the attack going up the hill, which in military standards is not where you want to be, and
mm,
would have most likely had led to a British and coalition loss and a Napoleon's victory. And I think it would have been the turning point for him finally at the end of this, to where he is now older, he understands, and if he would have won here, the there might have been a French Empire again,
mm,
and he might have conquered all of Europe again. But the thing that stopped it, because the night before, the day before, he told his generals and lieutenants and everybody, like, start the battle at sunrise. Start the battle at sunrise. And he left his generals in charge, and they, number one, they didn't start the battle at sunrise because they were waiting for Napoleon, but Napoleon was sick and couldn't make it out, so they waited and delayed for like an hour or two, which lost them precious time that they already needed. And the British forces also knew what they were doing to an extent, and his generals were not as well trained as they should be, and they started the battle late. They sent in the infantry, and the infantry and artillery combined fire seems to be overwhelming the British forces on their high point, and you see them pull back behind like sort of a dike or a levee or a man-made structure to hide behind, so that the artillery can't, so that you can't see them unless you come over the top. And the general in charge at that time, I don't remember their name, thought, we have them in a rout. So they sent in. This is where it ended. This is where Napoleon knows he's finished. This is when the the coffin is put. He's put in the coffin. They sent in all of their cavalry, full charge, no infantry support, over the hill without knowing what was there. It was all the British infantry in square formation, ready for the cavalry, and they just slaughtered all of his cavalry. Napoleon, who just after that came out of his tent and was like, "Where's my cavalry? Where's all my cavalry?" And he looked at his general, and I can just imagine what went through his mind, like, "You stupid motherfucker. You stupid goddamn son of a bitch, worthless peon. How do you send cavalry into a blind area without infantry support? You goddamn worthless peon. And at that point, Napoleon probably knew he had lost because he did not have his cavalry. He had lost the advantage. The British forces started pushing them back over the hilltop, and that's when the Prussian forces arrived. And the Prussian forces arriving honestly didn't really need to arrive at that point because Napoleon just he was finished. You lose all of your cavalry, you're finished in this type of combat because you lose your hard hitting, you lose everything basically. So he lost the Battle of Waterloo, but interesting footnote, the reason Napoleon was sick is because he had hemorrhoids. Napoleon lost the Battle of Waterloo because he had hemorrhoids.
There you go, kids.
Don't get hemorrhoids, I guess, which you can't really choose if you get hemorrhoids or not. But yeah, he had
So,
probably from riding horses his entire fucking life, he had hemorrhoids.
so
Well,
the
maybe that was a divine like interference.
so
Eh,
casualties.
more like
So
hemorrhoids.
casualties and losses. French, 41,000. About 15,000 missing. Um, Coalition, about 24,000. Blucher's army, he lost about 7,000 with about 1,000 with about 1,200 killed, 4,000 wounded. Wellington's army, 17,000, 3,500 killed, 10,200 wounded. So, so the coalition kind of spanked Napoleon's butt, and about let's see, June, that happened on June 18th. So about 4 days later, Napoleon was once again forced to abdicate.
And you know what? I like it this time because the coalition kind of learned their lesson. They're like, listen, we fucked up. We put you right off Italy. You know what? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. They sent this motherfucking dude to the middle of goddamn nowhere. This little ass island, like way off the coast of Africa.
So in about 1815, in October, Napoleon would be exiled to the British-held island of Saint Helena in the South Atlantic Ocean, where he would later die on May 5th, 1821. And
Also, I
from
do want to add.
what I'm reading right here is that it was most likely from stomach cancer. At
Well,
the,
okay,
at the,
so actually, there's a couple things I want to talk about real quick. So he was exiled to this island, this cliff island, this volcanic island. So he couldn't really escape. There were two ships always patrolling it. Um, there were 100 and something guards around his house day and night. Napoleon wasn't going anywhere this time. He wasn't going to form no 1,000-man army this time. But yeah, he stayed there till he died 6 years later. Now, the thing about Napoleon's death, in itself is a controversy, because some people believe that yes, he died of stomach cancer. There's like retroactive scientific evidence of that, but as well, it's so old, and because of his diet, it might not have been stomach cancer. Some people believe that he was poisoned and killed.
okay.
Um,
Well, from what I can see here is that in a lot of his paintings, it appeared like he in some of his poses he has his hand in his vest, and
mhm.
and whether or not he was clutching his side or not, or he was just doing that for dramatic effect for the pose, who knows? If he was clutching his side to try and hide pain, then maybe it was stomach cancer.
Sure, yeah. And like maybe that's why he did that whole like he got back into power, and honestly Napoleon probably could have defended France and just stayed emperor
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, but he did do kind of a, don't want to say suicidal, but I think he knew the force he was going against, and that he knew the experience of his men that he had, and he knew his odds were very, very low, but he did it anyway. So maybe he knew something was up with him, that he was sick in some way, and that, had to do something.
Perhaps.
Um, but that is the end of Napoleon, dead at
Well,
the
not,
age of 51.
well, it's just real quick, just a little bit more. Despite being asked that he for his remains to be returned to France, he would be buried on the island. However, in 1840, he would
Mm,
be exhumed and he would be he would his body would be returned to France, and he would be entombed in a crypt at Les Invalides Les Invalides in Paris, where other French military leaders are interred, from
mhm,
what I can read here. So,
mhm, mhm.
so
Yeah,
Napoleon is in France. So he
he is
did
in France now. Thank
he
you.
did return to France.
Um, so
Probably
yeah,
not the
that's
way
the
he
end of
wanted to
Napoleon.
return.
No, and this does lead to 100 years, or not 100 years, but 60, 70 years of honestly relative peace in Europe, after constant wars and fighting over the last 20 years. Once Napoleon is taken out of the picture in 1815, the revolutions kind of stop, the wars kind of stop, everyone just kind of
Uh,
relaxes. Now we know over in the Americas that doesn't happen.
well, I'm just gonna say, yeah, maybe on like continental Europe, there's no
Well, yeah, that's what
war for the Europeans there, but there's still they do this thing called proxy wars, and this is the age
oh,
of
yeah,
colonialism, baby. The rape of Africa, let's go. That's what's
that's why I
on
said
now.
that's why I said Europe, you ding
They're
dong.
still fighting each other over there. They've decided
Not
not to do it on mainland.
They're not doing it on Europe
Yeah, but still,
because they've had enough bloodshed until something happens. I can't remember in the 19th century
it's great or something. I think.
or 20th century. My bad.
Yeah,
Something happens 20th century. I don't think it was great. I heard it was pretty bad.
I heard it was
Um,
great.
but yeah, that's the end of Napoleon. So I have some questions for you guys. Now that we're finally here, we finally got through all of Napoleon. Can you believe that? We started from the beginning, went all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you.
What's up?
Is Napoleon a hero?
Hmm.
Yes. In the broadest
Depends on who
term,
you are.
yes.
Depends on who you are. I would say, if you're French, you
Elaborate.
as a hero. He's let's think about it. I was born and raised in the U.S. of A. I have really nothing to thank Napoleon for, other than that my home state of Kansas was in the Louisiana Purchase.
I was about to say, yeah, he kind of honestly Napoleon helped America a lot. He distracted the British and sold
but,
it, sold the Louisiana Purchase.
other than that, when as a hero for the French people, yeah, and in some contexts, yes, but I mean, towards the end, we could also argue that he was just a washed up dictator.
Yeah. Okay, so how about this?
That's how I'm kind of.
Let's not say let's not say hero, because yeah, I guess hero could be taken any which way. I'm sure there's some fucking psychotic people that would call Hitler a hero because to Germany he was, or whatever. I don't fucking know. Do you think Napoleon, and this is kind of weird because it's hard to like get this definition, but do you think Napoleon was a good guy?
A good guy. So are you asking that he was morally right for what he did?
Like in World War II, there were the Allies and they're the Axis, and
See,
it's pretty
oh,
fucking like
that's
the Allies are the good guys. Is
Well,
Napoleon a good guy here?
well, World War II, like getting into that, that's also
World War II is
ambiguous, very ambiguous about us being the good guys.
but when you think about
We
it,
didn't have the concentration camps, so I think we were the
Andrew,
good
we
guys.
I can tell you about the fire bombings of German cities and Japanese
oh,
cities
get
all
the
day
fuck.
long. Us forgetting
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Oh,
all
get
that.
out!
What?
Okay, I could tell you about the Japanese slaughtering the Chinese all
Yeah.
day.
It's objective to who is
It,
truly good in war. There's no good side in war.
I'm pretty sure it's pretty fucking agreed upon that the Allies were the good guys. Did they do some bad things? Yeah, but they were the good guys, obviously,
Some bad things.
compared to the other fucking side.
I'm just saying, like,
Because in no way is the other side good at all.
yeah, nobody wants to. Nobody wants to be allied with the Nazis.
Exactly.
I
I
am
mean,
just saying, are they are
I get what you're
good
saying.
compared to the Germans, but they still committed
Yes,
atrocities just like the fucking
Some
exactly.
people
Germans.
did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some people did.
You firebomb a city and kill 200,000 people in one
But that
night that is
doesn't.
all civilian.
But the difference
and the
is
Germans
what
did
the
that too
war.
during the Blitz. It's both sides
The
did it.
the difference is, Matthew, the difference about war and what side
Jews
is
are
good,
Jews.
and the difference is it's not about necessarily the actions, because the actions in war come down to generals and leaders and things like that. But to say what side is good is not is the moral reason you're in the war to begin with. Why are you in this war? The Nazis were in the war to control and to execute and destroy. The Allies were in the war. They didn't necessarily. I mean, I know we could go on this all day, but the
Not
Allies more or less were there to free Europe.
talking about Napoleon. Was
Well, I'm trying to
Napoleon
ask:
was okay? No, well, let's
was
answer.
Napoleon the good guy or the coalition? Like, was
Was
Napoleon the villain in this
okay?
story,
So
or is he the good
okay,
guy?
I mean, I can't put an answer on that. I
I
mean,
can, because I think
who
looking at Napoleon, he just looks like a tyrant.
a tyrant? Okay, yeah, that's understandable. That is perfectly
Because there's a difference.
because
Because I
he
get him.
go
Go
no
ahead.
go ahead no okay I was gonna say like I believe it's a two-way street, you know. The dude's not Hitler. We don't know that he was just plainly executing people because he didn't like them,
Well,
but
yeah.
we also got to think about it like this too. The dude was a total realist, and he believed that war was just another continuation of public policy. So
He didn't
we
know anything else.
we could say for days that he alone is solely responsible for all the deaths that happened during his 10 years of reign. Or we could argue that no,
I think.
that Napoleon was right in what he did, and doing what he did for France, and that
Well,
he would be the one to unify Europe, and that all the other nations that had opposed him were evil, and that they you know what I'm getting at here.
yeah, I understand that. I don't. I think though, like especially in the part where with the Peninsula War and the Russian War and things like that, that's not unification that he's looking for. That's control that he's looking for. At that point, he's just looking to
That
control everything.
that's the
He's
same
not.
thing.
It's not the same thing. Unification and
Depends on your
control are two
perspective.
different things.
Depends on your perspective.
Yeah,
The Spanish
and
believe that their nation
unifying.
the Spanish believe that their nation should be free from Napoleon. Napoleon believes that because he was allies with them, and this and that that they should be a part of the
They
French
should
Empire.
act a certain way. He was
Yeah,
believing that they should act a
And
certain
that's
way. The
that's
reason he went into
control. That's what I'm
Spain
saying. It's
was
control.
because they were acting in a very
I'm not saying that it's
because
not
they
control.
were Catholic. He went in there because they were very unchristian. They were acting like deviants, like sodomites. And he's like,
But
you shouldn't be
that's
doing
my
that.
point.
Well, their
That's my
government was
point.
acting that way. But I'm also gonna say, on the scale of, was Napoleon a dictator? Yes. Was he a tyrant? No. The
Yeah, he
man,
was.
no, no. On
Yes,
this,
he was.
no, he wasn't.
No.
Do you want to know about tyrants through history?
Honestly,
Oh
I'm
my
not saying he
fucking
was the
god.
worst tyrant.
He wasn't a tyrant in any sense of the word. He gave
Yes, he
people
was.
freedom. He gave his people freedom.
His people,
Yes. That
not
is the
everyone else.
That doesn't make you a fucking tyrant. A tyrant is when you dictate over your own people and strip their own freedoms.
He was a tyrant to the rest of Europe. And under this unification thing, those became his people, but they didn't want to be in control by him. That's called a tyrant.
I think we're splitting hairs.
Yeah, Andrew, a tyrant is a cruel and oppressive ruler. He was not a cruel and oppressive ruler.
Yes, he was.
No,
Not
he
to his own people,
wasn't. He
but yes,
didn't
he was.
punish his people that he conquered. He
You
tried to
just,
incorporate them.
Matthew, you just told me that he attacked Spain because they weren't acting Christian enough.
He attacked the Spanish nobility and dethroned them because they weren't acting correct. They were
It
acting
doesn't matter
wrong.
who it was. To him.
That is not cruel to think that you should have people live a better life from under corruption.
Oh my God.
Andrew, you're
I
just
really don't
wrong and you
think.
can't accept that you're wrong.
Oh my
What are
god.
you going on about?
He is
Oh,
not a
you
tyrant in the
violence.
basic definition.
I don't listen.
He
Listen, guys.
absolutely was a dictator and a tyrant, and he
No,
was.
you
Okay,
don't
and
know
that's
the
what you
definition
think.
of fucking
But then
tyrant.
there's the other side of it, where Matthew says no, and says that he gave his own people
But
freedom, so stuff like that.
but my point is, yeah, to the French people he was good.
I
Just
but
like Hitler was good to the Nazi people.
but okay, well, hold on a second. I never
But he
read
was, but
anywhere that
Hitler wasn't good to
Napoleon.
the German people.
I never read anywhere that Napoleon, as soon as he took over Austria, had okay, yeah, put them all in camps, or that he did that in
Well,
Egypt.
no, I'm obviously not saying he's as bad as Hitler. No one's as bad as Hitler.
My God.
But I am saying that Napoleon went around conquering everything because, and honestly, I think it was an ego thing as well because he wanted to
Well,
beat Britain. And
of
to do that,
course,
he was going to go through anyone and conquer anyone to do that. It didn't matter who they were.
Okay, Andrew, you can be a dictator without being tyrannical. You can be an emperor without
or can
having
you?
tyranny.
All
Yes,
dictatorships
you
are fine.
can. No, you can. Yeah, there was lots of different emperors and lots of different dictatorships. Like what the fuck do you mean, Levi? Of course, they've all fallen
I'm just
eventually
saying.
because
Well,
usually it
okay,
gets down to
yeah,
hereditary.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I can name
yeah.
a
There's a lot of
dozen,
good
2
Roman
dozen,
rulers. So, yeah, 2 dozen.
even
Yeah,
more, yeah,
sorry.
great
Yeah.
dictators throughout history that weren't tyrants. I can name you probably 100 and more tyrants throughout history, but I can tell you that their rule was short lived at most. They
Just
lasted
like
probably a
Napoleon.
year or two, a year or two at max. Napoleon, his people loved him. They wanted him. The guy
Napoleon's
got
lasted like
exiled. Then
13 years.
the guy got exiled, and then his people brought him back. His people let him back in. You are
Then
not a
he lost.
tyrant if your people fucking let you back in. If you are a tyrant, usually you get assassinated by the people. You usually get
You know,
thrown. You like he is just not a tyrant in any sense of the word.
I don't. I
it's
mean,
just it depends on who you are.
that's what I've been
It
saying this
depends who you
whole
are.
time. It depends on your perspective. Like you both have two different viewpoints, and if
Because
I'm being
there were
honest,
definitely French
in
people that didn't
their
like Napoleon
ways,
either.
in their own ways, I think that both of your viewpoints are correct.
Like,
I
do
can see
you
why you
think
both believe this. Now, me personally, I don't really care what the man was. He was just a glorious military tactician, emperor of France. That is who he was. And he believed that, like I said earlier, that war was just another continuation of public policy. Now, do I agree that whether or not he was solely responsible for all the deaths that his wars brought, um, I can't be the one to judge that. I have no basis to judge him for that. But to say that he was evil, to say that he wanted to be the conqueror of the world, who knows? I can't say that for sure. Or to say that the man, or to say that the man was a saint, or to say that the man was a saint, and that the Catholic Church will um paint make a church for him. No, man was not a saint.
All right, well that was weird. We're back now. Levi is here with me. Matthew disconnected. He's not here anymore, but that's okay. He will be back on a future episode, probably next episode. But me and Levi are going to go ahead and give you the end of episode. So we had a whole big discussion about Napoleon and ethics and stuff like that. Real fun stuff, real great content. But we're gonna be done with that conversation now, Levi.
So
Usually, what I do is I leave you and Matthew to rank the nations. He's not here, so I guess it's up to you. Now, I guess we'll call this the French Empire,
yeah,
since so much of it is integral to Napoleon himself.
yes.
So, our current rankings are at number one, we have the Akkadian and Assyrian Mesopotamia. Number two, the Aztec Empire. Number three, 20th century China. Number four, medieval Germany. And number five, the Yayoi and Kofun Japan. Where would you personally put the French Empire?
I mean, probably around 3 or 4, maybe.
Three or four? Do
Yeah.
you think they're better than medieval Germany?
Oh, definitely.
Do you think they're better than 20th century China?
I don't know. 20th century China. Well, I mean, which impacted the world more? I guess. Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, this
Yeah, I
was a
guess
really
this is
long.
I'm
This was a really long, drawn out
mhm.
subject.
I'd probably put it at four. I think four is respectable.
Okay.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
All right. At number four, I will put. Oh, my bad. I almost put French Empire. I meant the French Empire. At number four, right behind 20th century China, right ahead of medieval Germany. Now, see, it's just hard because Matthew's not here. I guess this is going to be a little surprise for him. Um, we have finally our next topic, which will be one episode long, not a three-parter. Um, our topic choices are: we have the Battle of Pearl Harbor. We have the King Tut era of Egypt,
Mhm.
and we have Australia's origins.
Australia's origins.
Yes. So, like, the British putting
I'd be down for. I'd be
colonizing
down for
things.
Australia's origins.
That is what you would like?
Yeah.
All right. Well, since you're the only one here, we will go ahead and do Australia's origins for the next episode.
Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking around this long, long episode. Thank you so much for sticking around that very what should I say, intense debate that we had earlier. That was fun times. Remember, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to give us positive ratings on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to the show. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel at youtube.com/thatoneandrew, where full recordings of this podcast are posted along with a plethora of other videos. Reminder that we now also have a Patreon where you can support us. Head over to patreon.com/thatoneandrew and go ahead and throw a few bucks our way if you ever so inclined to. We appreciate any type of support, though, that you may give, whether that be monetarily or simply through listening. We love you and appreciate you either other way. Levi, do you have any closing words for the audience on this very long episode?
Um, just be yourself.
There you go. Wiser words could not have been said. With that being said, I'm Andrew. I almost said that one, Andrew. My name is Andrew. It's been a pleasure. Goodbye.
Are you gonna stop recording?
I'm going to wait for you to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Are you beaten off?